Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online regulation C VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'll be featuring a team with Revavroom. I have personally never gone up against Revavroom or really used it in competitive VGC. I saw this team at the Portland Regional Championships where it finished with 6 wins and 3 losses, and I knew I had to try it out. The idea behind Revavroom is that it's a fairly speedy Pokemon that can further increase its speed and its attack through Shift Gear. In addition, it has an incredible ability in Overcoat, making you immune to powder moves such as Spore and Rage Powder. Amoonguss is everywhere right now in the format, and so having a very nice Pokemon that can just counter it through its ability is really valuable. And Revavroom also can set up in front of a lot of different Pokemon, especially because this team is supported by Encore Maushold with support as well. But the idea is that against the classic Flutter Mane, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Palafin core, Revavroom can wall a lot of those Pokemon, especially after turning into Water type thanks to Terra, can get a Shift Gear up, and then can really start doing a lot of damage. So, as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the entire team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below. And thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like on the video or subscribing to the channel. We're this close to 200k subs. So thanks so much as always for joining, and let's break down this team. First of all, a huge thank you to Zach for building and sharing this team. I've linked his Twitter down in the description below. Zach is just one of the most creative team builders I've seen out of North America in the last 2 years. I actually fought against him in the last round of Day 2 Swiss at Vancouver Regionals, where Zach brought a team with Bellibolt as well as Iron Valiant. And so he's just really good at making some of these Pokemon that are super rare work. And it's a pleasure to be able to try out this team. So I've linked his Twitter, rental, and paste all down in the description below. Question of the day, I want to know what Gen 9 Pokemon you think has the best design inspired by us using Revavroom, which I think is a hilarious design. Personally, I love Maushold. It's my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon, so that's my answer. But let me know yours down in the comment section below. Now, the first Pokemon to talk about, of course, is Revavroom. I introduced it, obviously, in the beginning of the video, but just to elaborate a little bit more, you have Overcoat as well as Clear Amulet. Clear Amulet is honestly a huge deal for this Pokemon because it just makes Arcanine so much worse into Revavroom. Otherwise, a lot of people can just, Psycho Intimidate with Arcanine or Gyarados, and Revavroom without the boosts just doesn't really do that much damage. Even with the boost, you're not picking up these big one-hit knockouts, but without the boost, the damage output honestly feels pretty underwhelming. So Clear Amulet solves for that. Overcoat, as I mentioned, really valuable into all those powder moves, Spore, Rage Powder from Amoonguss, as well as Jumpluff, which just won regionals. And the general idea, of course, is to boost up with Shift Gear while also having some unique coverage with Poison Jab and Iron Head. So the Revavroom is mainly paired with the Maushold, especially as a lead. This Maushold's pretty interesting because it's a mix between support and offense. You actually have Wide Lens and Population Bomb instead of, for example, a more supportive item. But the idea is that you still have Friend Guard. So you are able to decrease the amount of damage that, your partners take, and at the same time also dish out decent damage with the Population Bomb. Now, obviously, by going for Friend Guard, the Population Bomb is going to do a little bit less damage rather than Technician, but you're still doing, a solid 40-50+% to a lot of Pokemon, and you can really catch opponents off guard, especially in closed team sheet best of 1 with this. So yeah, the main idea often, of course, is to lead Maushold and Revavroom against teams that don't have too much good defense against it. Encore is going to be really important for this Maushold to punish people that try to use Fake Out or Protect against you or set up moves against you, and a single Encore can really enable Revavroom to just take over the battle. The next couple Pokemon to talk about include Paldean Aqua Tauros. This is a safety goggles set with Aqua Jet, Wave Crash, Close Combat. You're often going to go up against Fire Terra. It's pretty common, I feel like, especially with Volcarona as well as Flutter Mane being on this team. For example, Fighting types will Fire Terra, Steel types will Fire Terra. So Paldean Tauros gives you nice, super effective damage should they do that, and it's just generally good damage with Intimidate. As you'll notice, there's safety goggles, by the way, so this team is really anti-Amoonguss. You've got the Encore plus Protect and the Grass Terra here with the Maushold to really make Amoonguss miserable. You've got Overcoat on Revavroom, you've got the safety goggles here, Grass Terra on Volcarona, and Substitute on Flutter. So you combine all of those, and Amoonguss just has a really tough time against this team, and I think that's really important because Amoonguss is everywhere right now. So yeah. Flutter, by the way, here is really cool. It is a max speed timid variant with Life Orb as well as Substitute. So Substitute's good for a bunch of reasons. It's really valuable into Amoonguss, but it's also just good against people that think you're Choice Specs Flutter and try to double protect on the first turn. Then you can set up a sub and then just immediately kind of bypass a turn and put Flutter in a much better position going into the next turn. So the other thing that I really love about this set is the Life Orb plus the Shadow Ball and max speed. Flutter Mane is just the most common Pokemon in VGC right now, but you combine all of those, and you can often play with a lot of confidence knowing that you'll outspeed opposing Flutters unless you see like a, booster energy speed boost. But if they don't have that booster energy, especially in these end games where maybe they've like swapped out their Flutter, this Flutter can just take over the battle. And I feel so much more comfortable playing with this Flutter, especially on the ladder where I'm like, I have no idea how fast my opponent's Flutters are, but there are very few people I feel like right now actually running max speed, and max speed plus Life Orb is even less common. So I really like that as an adaptation to the metagame, and it just makes it a little bit easier to play against opposing Flutter mains. To round out the team, you've got Quiver Dance Volcarona. This is a bulky set with leftovers and Grass Terra. Not much to really say about it. Pretty standard. Of course, you can lead it with the Mouse Hold that enables for 2 potential setup leads with Mouse Hold plus Volk or Mouse Hold plus the Revavroom. And then the last one is Hydreigon with Dark Pulse, Earth Power, Draco Meteor, and Snarl. Now, AV Hydreigon in general, not really that common anymore, but the idea is, of course, Poison Terra helps out a lot against those types that otherwise hit you for super effective, and this Pokemon can be pretty annoying for certain Pokemon to deal with. For example, Chi-Yu is really common right now. AV Hydreigon can wall it a decent amount while also retaliating back with a super effective Earth Power. So, yeah. Now, in my experience playing with the team, I often look towards Mouse Hold Volk or Mouse Hold plus the Revavroom as a lead. I think Volk doesn't come out nearly as frequently as Revavroom does, but yeah, I'm often asking myself, is this like a viable lead? Can I just set up and then sweep my opponent afterwards? I think other combos include like the Flutter Mane plus the Tauros, Flutter Mane plus the Hydreigon, or Hydreigon plus Tauros. All of those can be pretty valuable. Tauros plus the Revavroom can be pretty solid as well, especially because Tauros, of course, puts on pressure against ground-type Pokemon, which otherwise threaten Revavroom pretty substantially. So those are just a couple of modes to consider. Let's quickly highlight some weaknesses. So in terms of weaknesses, the first thing that I'll call out is that Revavroom has a very bad matchup into ground-type attacks, being 4 times weak to ground types, right? So Great Tusk, for example, really rising in usage. I've struggled against a lot of those while playing with this team. And then just ground-type attacks from Pokemon like Lamora with Earth Power, Dragonite with Earthquake can also be pretty scary. So you have to be careful about all of those. In addition, Revavroom is walled pretty considerably by opposing Steel-type Pokemon because obviously you can't Poison Jab them since they're immune, and then Iron Head doesn't really do much damage either. So any Steel Pokemon can be problematic. I'm thinking about things like Goldengo, for example, which can kind of just stay on the field. The Steel Terra obviously could be annoying as well. So you have to watch out for those because like both of the things that I just mentioned are actually fairly common in the format. And I have had games where I've just struggled against those like right from the get-go and not really have been able to have much of an answer because Revavroom kind of just sits on the field and then I feel like I don't really know what to do with it afterwards. So that's definitely something you're going to want to watch out for. I think another thing that I have struggled against in particular is actually Mouse Hold plus Annihilate with Beat Up and Rage Fist, mainly because it's like you can lead with the Mouse Hold to kind of bait out the Beat Up, but then like often they'll try to just KO Mouse Hold early, and once Mouse Hold's down, it's really easy to go for the Beat Up or go for like Redirection. So that's a combo that I've actually struggled against in particular while using this team. I think one other thing to watch out for is just like not be able to pick up big one-hit knockouts with this team. You do have a fair amount of damage, and obviously you have a lot of setup as well, but even at like +1, +2, Revavroom and Volcarona aren't actually often getting big one-hit knockouts onto things that take like neutral damage from it. So you have to be really careful about that because I think I've had a lot of losses where I just like traded negatively in terms of damage, thought I would get a knockout onto something, didn't get the knockout, and then things really just accelerated from there. I think with Flutter in particular, obviously, you don't really have too much bulk to work with either, and so you really want to be leveraging Substitute or Protect in ways to make sure you can chip away from your opponent with the other Pokemon and then finish things off with Flutter. So that's one thing to pay attention to as well. And yeah, I think like Terra with this team is so important, but also like knowing when to Terra and utilizing it properly is really key. I've had games where I like Terra the Revavroom, but then suddenly I'm weak to Grass and Electric, and then my opponents just take advantage of that, right? So that's something that you really have to be careful about as well. And then the last thing to mention here is, you don't have Protect on the Hydreigon in particular, and the team is fairly slow. Like, I say that in the sense that these Pokemon are all like base 90 to 100 speed, right? So they're decently fast Pokemon, but I've had games where I'm up against like a Booster Energy Iron Bundle. That can cause a lot of trouble, for example. Or teams with Tailwind where they just set up Tailwind, and even though I've gotten Shift Gear or Quiver Dance off, I still am slower than my opponent. So you really got to watch out for that. But yeah, that's it for a couple weaknesses. Let's get into the battles. Okay, really interesting team here. Azumarill, Farigiraf, Annihilate, Arcanine, Amoonguss, and Salamence. I've had a lot of trouble against Annihilate while using this team. It definitely could be beat up from Arcanine rather than Mouse Hold, which we traditionally see. Farigiraf can also actually beat up into the Annihilate. Pretty worried about that. They have Trick Room set up, obviously. think I want to lead with Flutter Mane. Could I lead Revavroom, actually? Because I could, like, go Revavroom Maushold, honestly, and just, like, follow me to redirect attacks away. And then in the back, go with Flutter. This is decent against the Amoonguss Arcanine duo. Volk doesn't feel that great to bring, nor does Hydreigon, so... I honestly think this is a pretty tough matchup, but we'll see what we can do. I'm mainly worried about the beat up. I think beat up plus Rage Fist stacks up really, really quickly against this team. And the problem is if I lead Maushold, which I'm doing here, like, they could just Drain Punch me, right? Maybe Annihilate and Arcanine. Okay. Well, this isn't too bad. I definitely want to go for a Shift Gear here. Question is what I want to do with Maushold. I lean towards going for Follow Me here. Just get the free +1 boost. Arcanine protects, which is great to see. I was going to say, if they double protected, I would have been so happy because I can just Encore you next turn. But this is still pretty solid, right? Because I can Encore that slot for sure. If they go for Bulk Up with Annihilate, then I can also Encore that, which would be great. Okay. So, a lot of setup going on right now. I'd rather Encore Annihilate right now, I think. And I'm down to start aggressively targeting it down, I think, as well. I mean, they might Flare Blitz me here, but we have Friend Guard. I'm gonna Iron Head Annihilate and Encore it, because Annihilate is such a big issue for us. Arcanine switches, okay, fine by me. Into Amoonguss, that makes sense. Do they protect here? They don't protect, okay. Really good damage from Iron Head. Nice, this puts us in a really good spot, because the thing is now, like, the Revavroom is just completely walls Annihilate, right? Or sorry, Amoonguss, thanks to Safety Goggles. It's probably Citrus. The question here is whether or not they go for Spore, because I could go into Tauros right now, but Flutter also is a decent switch in. I could also Grass Terra this so that you can't Spore either of my Mons right now. I actually don't hate that option. Shift Gear, Grass Terra. One turn of Encore. I actually think Shift Gear Protect here is fine. This is going to be an interesting one, but basically because I have Grass Terra and Encore, I can make the Annihilate just trapped for the remainder of the game. But as soon as the Encore lock breaks, Annihilate can obviously really put in work, so I have to be very careful right now. In making this play, I'm hoping to bait them to Spore me. Okay, nice. Oh, they actually tried to target Revavroom. But yeah, that's one of the upsides of using this Pokemon. People just don't know about Overcoat. Okay, I am down to Iron Head Annihilate, Terra Grass, and Encore Amoonguss now. This is what this lead can do. It is putting in so much work right now. It helps that my opponent's team is just relatively slow as well, so I can just slow down or outpace everything with Mouse and Encore, and this is exactly why we have Grass Terra as well. There's a lot of anti-Amoonguss text with this team. Okay, they go for Rage Powder, but that's fine. There's Overcoat. Now you're locked into Rage Powder. What is the Annihilate item? It's not Citrus or Leftovers? That's really interesting to me. The lack of healing makes this a lot easier for me, in my opinion. So I'm just going to Encore Annihilate again. I'm honestly down to go for a third Shift Gear right now. Yeah, I don't really see how they break through this. They actually switch. Nice. Into Arcanine. That makes sense. But at this point, it's like, I've gotten Revavroom to +3 attack, +6 speed. Yeah, they just go for Rage Powder again. And you can't actually redirect away from Revavroom. So, I honestly couldn't have asked for a better Revavroom game, and I did not expect that given Team Preview, because I think Farigiraf with Trick Room really scared me. But that's part of the reason why this is such an interesting team, right? Because Revavroom and this Maushold has a really good matchup into a lot of the common, like, Fire, Water, Grass cores. So, +3 attack. Yeah, let's just Poison Jab now into Arcanine and go for... I'm happy Population Bombing it too. Yeah, they keep going for Rage Powder, but at this point, because of Overcoat plus Grass Terra, both of us ignore it. Almost get the knockout there. It's going to be buried. Okay, Figgy. Population Bomb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Beautiful. That was like the perfect amount of damage. And yeah, like, you know, Amoonguss is so common in the format right now, and so having a Pokemon that can just completely set up on Amoonguss is just so valuable, right? So they bring out Salamence. But, like, Encore saved us in this game, and you can see how good Clear Amulet is for us as well, right? Because, like, it's blocked so many Intimidates. So Mouse is at -3 at this point, but that's fine. It's really done its job. Like, Overcoat is just such an amazing ability for us here. So, I am happy to just go for a... I actually don't mind protecting here to scout out for... I think Salamence probably wants the Terra here. What can it even do, though? Steel Terra at best? I guess it could have Earthquake. So I think, like, protecting here and then switching out into Tauros is fine. But we do have to be careful about a random ground type attack, right? Like, that's one thing that really beats Revavroom, so I want to make sure I cover for that. There's Intimidate. No Terror from their end. Okay, that's interesting. Mungus just keeps going for Rage Powder, but doesn't work against either of my Pokemon. They did have Earthquake, though. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to cover for. Life Orb as well. Okay. So, because we have Safety Goggles... I mean, they were... Okay, actually, because they were Rage Powder locked, I guess they just didn't want to switch into Annihilate, which I think is fair. But with that, I'm happy to go for Iron Head onto Salamence and Close Combat. This should cover for... actually, maybe... I'm debating between Close Combat and Wave Crash. I think I'll go for Close Combat. Steel Terra is what I would normally expect from Salamence, and so this just covers for that, but they end up not going for a Terra at all, and Iron Head just gets the one-hit KO. Nice. But, like, you can imagine, like, if they had a good defensive Terra there, I don't KO them, Earthquake KOs the Revavroom, suddenly I just lose this Pokemon I spent so much time trying to set up, right? But, yeah. With this team, you really do want your opponents to bring out Amoonguss. They should try to clear Smogus, but we are Steel typing. But maybe they just realize there's not much they can do to win this game at this point. Like, the Encore just immediately saved us in this one. And, yeah, you can see how valuable Overcoat is. Amoonguss was just completely invalidated throughout the course of this battle. So, go for Iron Head. And then switch back out into Mouse. So, that is the power of Revavroom. Now, this was a pretty unique game in the sense that I was really able to set it up. I think out of all the practice games I've had with this team, and I played over 10 because this is not an intuitive team to pick up, and I've never had any experience with this Pokemon. But in the 10 plus games I had, I don't think I ever clicked Shift Gear more than once. So I found this to be the perfect opportunity, though, because it was like Encore just completely shut down my opponent, and you will have games where your opponents don't expect Encore, and you just like really can snowball with it very quickly. So a single kind of, you know, misplay on the opposing side, and Bulk Up's not even a misplay there, right? Because if we don't have Encore, it's such a strong option from my opponent's end. So yeah, I wouldn't even call it a misplay. I mean, just a single move that Encore can take advantage of, and this team can just really skyrocket, and Revavroom can really start going from there. But the reality is, Revavroom just never was really threatened by too much, and thanks to us having Overcoat and my opponent prioritizing Amoonguss in the early game, we were able to just make Amoonguss look completely useless, right? So yeah, that's one of the reasons why this is such an interesting Pokemon. Amoonguss usage, very, very high, but between Grass Tera on the Mouse Hold plus Safety Goggles, on Tauros plus Substitute, on Flutter plus Overcoat, everything that I brought into that battle had an Amoonguss answer, making it so difficult for Amoonguss to really support its teammates. Very interesting team here. Iron, Jugulis, Dragapult, Stonejourner, Hand Scizor, and Bundle. It's funny because I feel like I featured really strong teams with all of these Pokemon, but not all together, right? Iron Jugulis won a Regionals back in Series 2. Dragapult won the first Regulation C Regionals. Stonejourner, I think we featured a top 16 team from Regionals with it. So, given the Scizor, Revroom is walled by Scizor a decent amount, right? I think it still could be decent in this matchup, but they do have a good amount of defense for it. So I'm not sure I want to lead with it. Maybe close out the game with it instead. Dragapult's pretty scary. Could be Booster on the Jugulis as well. I can't help but think Poison Terra Hydreigon's going to be valuable. I think Volk plus Mouse could be good too. But it has to respect Stonejourner. Man, I actually really don't know what to lead with here. My opponent's team is just so unfamiliar. Dragon, Flutter, you. So I'm not bringing Volcarona here mainly because I'm worried about both Stonejourner and Bundle, but the reality is that like Grass Tera Volk is actually pretty decent. The problem is that it's walled by Dragapult. I think this is one of the kind of matchups where unfamiliarity with my opponent's composition just makes it that much harder to play against. Because I don't really know exactly what they're trying to do. And that's why using teams like my opponent's can be really strong, right? Maybe Bundle and Hands, okay. So Flutter's obviously in a really commanding spot here on turn 1. No booster on either Pokemon. Often, I would expect Hands to go for a Terra here immediately. Like a defensive Terra. I don't hate switching in Tauros. Get an Intimidate off. And just Protect on turn 1. I think that's generally safe. One other thing I'm considering is how do I get Revroom out and in a position where it can set up? I contemplated a double switch, but the reality is even if Revroom gets boosted right now, it's not that good into either of these. Unless, oh. Clear Amulet on Hands. Uh-oh. They are going to go for a Terra, though. So is it Grass Terra? It's Fire. I was hoping to see Grass, because if it were Grass, then Revroom now can hit it for super effective. But I can still Wave Crash that for super effective. Okay. Yo! That is so cool. What? Okay, at least Wild Charge went into Flutter, but that was... Wow. That is so neat. I love that for my opponent. That's so cool. Okay. How fast is their Hands? Like, I'm worried they Icy Wind and then, like, Wild Charge into Tauros right now. Because I want to double up onto it, like Wave Crash and Shadow Ball it. And just trade. Oh, Hands switches. Okay. Huh. Into Jugulis. I'm fine with that, I think. Nah, that's just a great switch. I'm not going to do that much to it, right? Icy Wind. That is so cool. I feel like Electric Terrain on Bundle is honestly a really underutilized move. Very nicely played by my opponent so far. At least we've gotten them to Terra, but... Okay, I think the crit probably mattered there. Although, realistically, I'd actually argue that not getting the crit benefits us if it's an Aqua Jet KO range. Because if it's an Aqua Jet KO range, then the next round I can just Aqua Jet Moonblast and potentially look for a double KO. That comes back out. Wow, Clear Amulet, Electric Train, and Fire Terra. All of that makes this very scary, honestly. So with Icy Wind, like, they can Icy Wind again, and I would think Hands can knock out either slot. I think I want to switch out Tauros into Hydreigon now, and then go for Moonblast to try to get Bundle KO'd. If we knock out Bundle, then that's huge, because then you can't get speed control onto Tauros anymore, but this Clear Amulet's actually such a good item choice. It makes it so much harder to deal with, the Hands. And Hands is pretty good into Rev Room as well. But if you look at our team, like, you know, what else could I have brought? Volcarona? That's not really going to do anything into a Fire Terra Iron Hand, so it's not like that really solves my problems. Mousehold could Encore, but it also just gets dunked on by Hands, so this is one of the times where we just don't really have a very clear solution to a Pokemon. But this is really neat. It's really cool stuff. Okay, so the Icy Wind again. We're still faster with Flutter. Okay, that's good to know. It is Sash on Bundle, but at least now you're in Aqua Jet KO range. Oh! Okay, they're going to Earthquake, which will KO themselves, but Flutter will go down as a result as well. But I think that play does make a lot of sense, right? Because if you get the double knockout, that trade is totally worth it for my opponent. It's been a very aggressive, fast-paced game so far. So what can they have in the back? Scizor, Stonejourner, Dragapult? Ugh, if it's Dragapult, we have some serious problems. I actually really don't know who to bring here. My guess is it's Stonejourner. Okay, I think I'm going to bring Rev Room out. It is Stonejourner. Okay. It's probably the best one to run into, right? Because Rev Room has a pretty good matchup into Stonejourner specifically. So, for example, why not go Earth Power onto Hands and Poison Jab onto it, I'm thinking. They could protect Hands. I guess Stonejourner could low kick Hydreigon. Or just Rock Slide. Normally with Stonejourner, you run Rock Slide, low kick, Wide Guard, protect. Maybe there's some other moves. I haven't seen Stonejourner much in this format at all, honestly, but yeah. Man, Fire Terra, Clear Amulet, Electric Train. That's so cool. Yeah, like, I honestly think that's an incredible tech people should consider on Bundle. Nice. Stonejourner protected. Like, I don't really have a reason to double up onto that slot, right? I mean, it might be a double protect here, but that wouldn't really make too much sense. I didn't really do as much as I would have liked there. Earth Power I don't think will KO either. Yeah. Strain Punch and a Hydreigon. I could have Terra'd there, but I think it's fine. How much do they heal back up? An okay amount. I probably should have Terra'd there, right? I guess I was just worried about Rock Slide from their end. Bring out Tauros. I think it's fine, though, because I don't think Stonejourner can really beat Tauros, right? So even if you protect Hands here, it's okay. Like, I can Wave Crash for a KO onto that slot. And then Shift Gear. Yeah, I think we should still be okay here. Mainly because I have the speed advantage right now. That's why I valued swapping out the Tauros earlier. I think them knocking out their own bundle made this easier for me, though, for sure. Really fun teams, though. And they go for Wide Guard. Cool. Yeah, like, Stonejourner is pretty predictable in terms of its moveset. So that's why I wasn't really too worried about it here in this position, because I know I can just target around it. If they brought Dragapult, this endgame would have played up substantially differently, I think. Because Dragapult's Dragon Darts in itself would have put on so much offensive pressure. That would have been really scary. But the reality is Stonejourner just didn't really offer my opponent too much. Even with the ability... Like, I don't think it needed the ability boost to potentially knock out that Hydreigon anyway, right? So, yep. Now we can just Wave Crash into Stonejourner and Iron Head into it as well. And I didn't Terra in this game. I definitely could have considered Terraing the Hydreigon. I think that was a potentially missed opportunity. I was worried about hands protecting this entire game. They never did. But yeah, I think if it were Dragapult or Scizor, really anything over this Stonejourner, I mean, those are the only two other options. But I think either of those could have been a little bit scarier for me, especially if it was like Swords Dance Scizor, for example. Because then you can kind of just boost for free. But yeah, I think the main thing in this game was on turn 1, I didn't just lose Flutter Mane immediately. I think if I lose Flutter immediately, it's a complete disaster, and that's why I wanted to go for that Protect plus that switch. Even though they ended up having that Electric Terrain Wild Charge, like, I thought the odds of them targeting Hydreigon there felt fairly slim, so I felt okay about that. But that was really scary, and honestly, a really cool combo from my opponent's side. If not really run into manual Electric Terrain on Bundle, but, you know, enabling multiple abilities and getting the Cork Drive activated on everything is super, super sweet. So, yeah. But in that game, you know, obviously, the main thing was trying to, yeah, beat this Iron Hands in the early game. And I felt like Rev Room enabled for some potential sweeps, but the main thing about Rev Room is that it's not going to necessarily pick up big one-hit knockouts even after a boost in this one, and so I had to, you know, keep that in mind as well. Okay, this is the team that Nails, aka Nick, used to get top 4 at the Portland Regional Championships. Features Snow, and it's Choice Specs bundle with Helping Hand, Focus Sash, Aurora Veil, Abomasnow. We don't really have good weather control. I also think Great Tusk is one of the hardest matchups for this team, mainly because of its matchup into Rev Room. You know, the interesting thing is Rev Room's actually really good against a lot of the other mons, but like a Tusk plus Gambit lead is a complete nightmare for it. So you have to be really careful about approaching this. Honestly, the Blizzard spam is also looking pretty scary. Like, Helping Hand... Ice Terra Specs Blizzard can one-shot the Flutter, which is obviously very bad for me. I wonder if they just go with Snow. I don't know. Like, Tusk, Gambit feels pretty strong from them, too. I think I'm going to go Flutter plus Mouse. Don't know if Hydreigon... Volk. I'm bringing Rev Room here. I think Tauros is probably more consistent over it, but part of the appeal of trying this team is just bringing Rev Room into every matchup and seeing where it works and where it doesn't necessarily work as well. I think Tauros is a little bit more consistent because Intimidate's really good into Tusk, and its matchup into Tusk alone is fairly solid as well. Plus, it gives me another resistance into Ice, but let's see. I think an Abomasnow bundle lead is really strong from their end. Yep, that is what we're going to go with. Okay. The thing with this lead, though, is I can bait them into clicking Blizzard on turn 1. And so what I can do, for example, is just switch Flutter out into Volcarona and then just Protect on turn 1. And then I can Quiver Dance with Volk on turn 2 and then go from there. The main scary thing right now is the chance of freeze across the board. Yeah, they are going to commit the Terra. Okay, that's good. That's very good. That's what I was hoping to bait out. Could have brought Rev Room out here as well, but I feel like Volk's in a really good position to just get a Quiver Dance off. But I'm guessing they're just going to go for Helping Hand Blizzard. Yep. Okay. And it's a big deal to get them locked into Blizzard right now, but I honestly don't know how much this does to Volk. Like, if it does over half, we're in a huge amount of trouble. Let's see. Okay, good. Less than half. Given that, Heatwave is pretty free right now. They might just go for Helping Hand Blizzard again, to which I could switch in Rev Room. I really want to Quiver Dance here. I think I'm going to Quiver Dance and Encore Abomasnow. Okay, nice. They don't go for Helping Hand, which is huge because I'm going to Encore you into Helping Hand. That... Oh, wow. I didn't think that would KO Maushold without Helping Hand. Okay, that's really scary. Oh my goodness. They set up Aurora Veil. Okay. Could be worse, I guess. Like, if Maushold even survives with 1 HP there, I'm actually in such a good spot, because then Abomasnow doesn't get the Aurora Veil off, and it's completely useless next turn, and Volcarona just gets a free Heat Wave, and I get a free Population Bomb as well, but this just got a lot harder for me. I'm gonna bring out Reverum. I don't remember if the Abomasnow had Earth Power on that set, but I'm content just clicking Heat Wave right now. I really want to Shift Gear. I'm gonna go for it. That's the power of Ice Specs bundle, by the way, though, right? Even without Helping Hand, it's still one-shot Maushold. I'm really curious what that damage calc is, because I have no idea. But this is why this duo did so well at the Portland Regionals. Heat Wave double connects. Nice. I had the ability to KO Abomasnow here, but I don't know. If I get the Shift Gear off and they don't... Oh, I should have probably Terra just to cover for Earth Power, huh? I think that was the right play, actually. Because there's no chance to ever Grass type attacking that slot. Yeah, I should have Terra'd. Okay, but they just Blizzard. I don't get punished. Mainly because I thought regionals they didn't have Earth Power on that slot, but I actually should be pretty well positioned. I'll let both of my Pokemon have boosts. And they committed their Terra. And I still have Life Orb Flutter waiting in the back. All of that's good stuff for us. King Gambit. That's a pretty tough one to run into, right? Because they could Sucker Punch me. 2 turns of Snow, 3 turns of Aurora Veil. I think double protecting here is fine. It's triple choice. I'm also thinking protect and just get the knockout onto Abomasnow right now. Okay, they could theoretically go for a Helping Hand, Kowtow Cleave. Oh gosh, I think that's actually what they're doing. There's like mind games with Volcarona because it's like they could Sucker Punch me at any point. Oh, nicely played. That's a really good play by them. Let's see if they targeted. Okay, they targeted Volk. Nice. So I think the logic from their end is, hey, let me just guarantee the knockout onto Volcarona. I have Assault Vest, so you can't KO me. But Leftovers has been so good for us here. Flutter Mane's the last one. Beautiful. Okay, that's really good. Still not over yet, but... Oh, it's Booster Flutter. I thought it was Specs on the original team. No, Specs is on the bundle. Sorry, it is triple choice, but yeah. Choice item is there instead. Okay, with that, then this game is definitely not over yet. But we're getting close. I think here, honestly... does Ironhead KO with Aurora Veil up, I guess is the other question. So I just committed Protect. They could Sucker Punch the Volcarona slot, so I could Quiver Dance here. And Ironhead into Flutter. Okay, Flutter protects, that's fine. But did they go for Kowtow Cleave or Sucker Punch? Okay, they went for Cleave. Nicely done. Still okay, though, because I have Flutter in my endgame. But, yeah, nicely done. Because I think I would have Sucker Punched in my opponent's shoes there, so great play. There's Kowtow Cleave. Oh, interesting. They actually target Reverum. Okay. Snow stops. Continue to heal back from leftovers. They only have one more turn of Aurora Veil right now. So honestly, don't mind the double protect play here. Yep. Double protect. Does +2 Heat Wave KO Kingambit with the Salt Vest? I would think so, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Oh, Flutter actually went for the double. Okay, that makes sense. It actually would have been better for them to have gotten the double there, because then the odds of getting another one obviously are so slim. Kowtow Cleave, yeah, into Rev Room. Okay, but I think we should be good here. No more Aurora Veil now. Heat Wave. The question is whether or not we think Flutter is going to go for the Protect again, because I could launch Iron Head instead on a Gambit. I honestly don't know if we KO. I still have my Terra as well, so... But is there a world in which I lose if I end up targeting... If I don't target Flutter? I'll just go for the Flutter slot. Nice, they don't protect. Okay, Heat Wave. Yeah, it doesn't actually KO either. That was a crit on Flutter. Wow, that's really bulky. Wait. Does Kowtow Cleave just KO me? Ah, the booster speed actually made this really hard. Ah, I get crit. Burn? Yeah, them being booster speed allowed them to outspeed Rev Room there. Because if Rev Room's faster, we just win. Well, now they just Shadow Ball into Flutter, right? But it's plus speed. If we had Dazzling, this would have been a wrap, but I don't. Okay, I think I go for Terra here, Fairy, so Shadow Ball does less. I go for the KO onto Gambit here. There is a world in which Flutter protects here as well. If Flutter were to protect, I would also win. I really felt like I had that, but yeah, the booster speed... I could have gone for another Shift Gear with Rev Room. I think that's something I should have considered, because I feel like I really had this game won after getting boosted up. But my opponent did a really nice job playing around everything. Okay, they do go for Shadow Ball. They didn't Sucker Punch, though, so is this a 2-hit KO? It's not. Okay, nice. They can Moonblast me next turn, so it's a question of whether or not my Flutter survives. Luckily for us, they at least didn't Sucker Punch there. That would have given them some more chip damage. Okay. This Flutter is really bulky, right? Like, +2 Heat Wave with a crit only did that much. I mean, either of these attacks KO. You already used your Terra. We'll just Shadow Ball. Does Moonblast KO? Oh, wow. That was a crazy game. That was absolutely nuts. I think the main thing, though, was, yeah, like... I just really never thought Mousehole would actually feint to that Blizzard in the early game, and that was completely on me. So, I do actually want to do that damage calc, because I have no idea what it looks like, and I am super curious, but obviously happy to have won that one. That was so intense, but Rev Room obviously put in a fair amount of work. Yeah, I just feel like the mid game I could have played a lot better. Like, they played super well. And, like, the turns where Flutter were protecting, I can't help but think that was an opportunity to go for a Shift Gear. And if I get another Shift Gear, then I just outspeed and KO you. So... yeah, I think that was a pretty big missed opportunity, honestly. In the end, it was enough, but had they just clicked Sucker Punch there or gotten just slightly higher damage rolls with their Flutter, I would have lost that for sure. So, yeah, I definitely didn't play perfectly, but I think one of the real strengths of Nails' team is that, like, people just have no experience, like, fighting against Terra Ice Specs bundle with Helping Hand. That's one of the things that Nails said, you know, in his interview. It's like no one knows those damage calcs, myself included, and so that can give you a significant edge. But let's pull up the calc and take a look. Man, this Blizzard really is no joke. So, as you can see, we did have a chance to survive, but it was an 81.3% chance to get the one-hit knockout. I don't know if I really would have played that turn differently anyway. I could have potentially contemplated switching Maushold out into Rev Room, I think. That's like the only thing I would really consider in that position. But yeah, Choice Specs Iron Bundle really is no joke. And even with Maushold being bulkier here, still enough to get the knockout the majority of the time, which is honestly a really bonkers damage calc. So yeah, it's good to learn that. And if you see a Abomasnow bundle, prepare now for Choice Specs Iron Bundle, because that's something that has been popularized after the most recent regional championships. But wow. Okay, Arcanine, Dragonite, Flutter, Bundle, Scizor, Glimmora. Scizor is pretty annoying for Rev Room, but otherwise Rev Room's actually pretty nice here. I guess Glimmora could have Earth Power as well, so that's another thing to watch out for. But I'm kind of down for Rev Room Mouse, honestly. And in the back... Against Scizor, I can't help but think I would really want Volcarona. Flutter's always good, but it's pretty bad into the two things that also have a good matchup in a Rev Room. I'm actually thinking of Tauros over the Flutter, which seems kind of wild. Maybe Hydreigon's okay. I'd consider it in a best of 3, but I don't think it's consistent enough in a best of 1. If we had a Fire-type attack on it, I think there's a much stronger argument for it. But it's between Flutter and Tauros. I'm going to bring Tauros here. Like, they have a lot of physical attackers. So, my goal is to just set up with Rev Room and then go from there. We'll see if we can get multiple boosts off in this one. How else could I have led in this one? I think Flutter Mouse is interesting. I think Volk Mouse is also interesting because I can just go Quiver Dance, Rage Powder. Like, don't be afraid to lean into the Volcarona part of this team either, right? Yeah, I think both are viable. Let's see what they go with. Bundle and Glimmora. Okay. I'm generally alright with this. Obviously, Earth Power from Glimmora can be a little bit scary. I think on turn 1 here, I actually don't mind just double protecting because Maushold having... Well, you know, I was going to say I don't mind double protecting. I can Encore, but this is best of 1 closed team sheet. This could also have Encore. That'd be really annoying for me. So I'm actually just going to shift gear and follow me here. Yeah. Because if I double protected and then they Encored Mouse next turn, Earth Powered into Rev Room. Never mind. Actually, I think that was silly. I don't need to be worried about Encore. I have Follow Me. Yeah, I think I was overly cautious about a move. Because it's like getting Encore locked into Follow Me is totally fine. So, yeah, I do think double protecting would have just been better there, but oh well. In the grand scheme of things, yeah, I don't think it would have changed much. Let's go for Icy Wind. But we have Clear Amulet. Okay. Not too bad. And shift gear. Low-key want to go for a second shift gear in this one. I don't know if that's actually smart, though. Now, if I were them, I would try to KO Maushold and then just KO Rev Room. So I'm thinking like Terra here. Shift gear. Protect. It's funny because I was worried about Encore, so they actually have Encore. This actually also messes up with what I'm trying to do, but I don't know if you're really going to want to click Encore when I have Follow Me pressure. Okay, Water Terra. Obviously, this makes me weak to Freeze Dry, though, so I have to be pretty careful now. Ah, they're going to Terra. That's actually pretty surprising to me. Into what, though? Grass? I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm going to just Poison Jab you next turn, yeah. That works. Unless they're going for Energy Ball. Could you imagine? That would be sick. Okay, they just go for Icy Wind. That's fine. I'm honestly not sure Icy Wind would have KO'd the mouse there, so I also could have just gone for Follow Me, but this works out better. Okay, shift gear number 2. The Earth Power, that's fine. Nice. Okay, we're in business. Poison Jab into you now. I think I just go for Follow Me here just to make sure Freeze Strike doesn't get targeted into Rev Room. I'll have the Terra advantage after this, which is good. But it's not like the Rev Room just sweeps my opponent, right? Like, Scizor would just wall me completely, but that is why I brought Volcarona in the back. However, I did have to commit my Terra. But I'll just bring out Tauros next turn, I think. Yeah, they didn't need to commit the Grass Terra there, but I can understand why. Like, they probably just are worried about random attacks for coming. Oh, is that Scizor switching in? Okay, it's Arcanine. That's fine. This is where the Clear Amulet is so good. Okay. If anything, this is even better for me in the sense that, like, I don't set up Toxic Spikes, so I don't get poisoned. It's so fun watching the wheels spin on Rev Room. Poison Jab gets the poison. Nice. It is buried, though, so that probably won't matter too much. And they did go for Freeze Dry, yeah. Okay. With this, I could either bring out Tauros or Volcarona. Maybe I should have brought Flutter in this one. I'll go into Tauros. My main problem is I don't know how much Freeze Dry does into Rev Room. The play I want to make right now is Protect and Close Combat into Bundle. They could theoretically Freeze Dry the Tauros instead, though. Bundle's just been pretty annoying, huh? And I could have brought Flutter over Volk here, which would have been a better switching, because then I could just, like, Protect and then Moonblast either slot. But I felt forced to bring Volcarona because of the Scizor in Team Preview, right? So, like, that's one of the challenges with Rev Room. I had to commit my Terra to not faint to Earth Power. I had to bring Volcarona to cover for the Steel type that my opponent may not have even brought into the battle. But it's not like this Pokemon just sweeps through teams completely, right? There are a lot of things that can slow down its output. Protect. Okay, they Protect Bundle. Yeah, I could play. I'm probably eating up a Will-O-Wisp here, aren't I? Okay, at least they try to target Rev Room. Could you imagine if I went for another Shift Gear, though? Like Aqua Jet Arcanine Shift Gear? That would have been so sick. I mean, I guess I just Iron Head Bundle now. And Aqua Jet to KO Arcanine. I think a flinch here would actually just win us the game, too. Or if we were to survive Freeze Dry. I have no idea how much Freeze Dry I should do into Rev Room. +2 Iron Head now. Into Iron Bundle. Almost a KO, wow. If we got that KO, that also probably is just game over. Rev Room does faint, but it's okay, I think. Is it? They have Glamora. In an ideal world, they bring out Scizor right now. I also don't know if Aqua Jet even KOs the bundle. I could have gone for Poison Jab there for a chance of poison, but, you know, if Iron Head flinches there, I think we just immediately win. Because then I would think, like... I mean, I could Aqua Jet, but if I weren't confident in Aqua Jet, I could go for, like, any attack from the Rev Room as well. I should have gone for the Aqua Jet plus the third Shift Gear. It would have been so risky, but it would have been a game-winning play. Okay. Yeah, I don't even know if Aqua Jet gets this. think I'm just going to go Heat Wave Close Combat here. They could miss Hydro Pump. They could Protect Bundle, which would allow me to KO Glimmora. I'm expecting this to be Assault Vest, so I feel like I need to double up onto it for a KO. How else could I play this game differently? I'm mainly thinking about just the turn I didn't go for that shift gear. Okay, they don't go for Protect. Hydro does connect. Does that KO? Volk lives! Okay. I think Heat Wave should get the double KO here if we hit both. Toxic Spikes being set up now is totally fine. Oh, they're just faster with Glimmora. Oh, that was so anticlimactic. So the Glimmora is pretty fast on this team, right? Because it was outspeeding the Rev Room as well as the Volcarona here. Oh. So you know what that meant, though? I could have won if I actually just protected Volcarona and just close combated Glimmora there. But, I wasn't sure how fast they were going to be. I mean, realistically, if Flutter were their last one, I still lose that end game. So, yeah. The main thing I'm thinking about was... I also could have gone Aqua Jet plus Iron Head onto the bundle the turn that I went for that double up, right? Because if we get the knockout there, then you don't one-shot the Rev Room. So I think that was the main thing. I wasn't exactly sure how the damage calcs would look like there. Let's actually pull up the calc as well, because I think that's a pretty good one to learn. And like whether Iron Head's even a roll, and you know what it looks like if bundle has bulk versus no bulk. Yeah, so as you can see here, Iron Head against no bulk bundle does 85 to 101.5%, so it's a 1/8 chance to get that one hit KO, and sometimes bundles obviously will have a little bit of bulk as well, and so yeah, definitely I think needed to Aqua Jet plus go for the Iron Head that turn. And yeah, in that end game, I think there were a lot of different plays I could have made. I think like the turn that bundle protected, I could have, if I went Aqua Jet onto the Arcanine slot and risked going for a third shift gear, I think I just would have won. But you know, from that position, I really wasn't sure what the damage calcs from Rev Room looked like. But I do think that like puts me in a really commanding position because then I can just get the one hit knockout. But yeah, I think Volcarona being slower than Glimmora made things a lot harder for me in this end game. And ultimately, like bundle just hung on the field for a really long time, right? And I wasn't able to knock it out really early. I'm curious what my opponent's last one was, because if it were Scizor, it would have validated my decision to bring Volcarona a little bit more, but we never got to find out. And so basically, like, the main issue for me in that game was it took me a while to get Rev Room going, but it still wasn't getting one-hit knockouts, and I was quickly losing my resources next to it as well. So Rev Room put in a lot of work. I just didn't really extract enough value from its teammates in this one, and Bundle just became a huge offensive threat thanks to Freeze Dry and Hydro Pump being able to hit really everything on my team for so much damage. Alright, one final game here, and we are up against none other than Orthworm. This is a team built by a player called David Kotesh, who did super well at the European Internationals. He's one of the most creative team builders in the world, and in my eyes, one of the first top players to popularize Orthworm. Really the first top player, in my opinion. The general idea behind this team is that you have Earthquake, Dragon Dance, Dragonite, and so Orthworm can Shed Tail into Dragonite with a substitute and multi-skill. It's really difficult to break through. It's Fire Orthworm as well, so that's something to watch out for. They can defensively Terra. And then Orthworm also has a really nice matchup into Flutter Mane specifically. So how do I feel about Rev Room here? The problem is that they have so many ground type attacks. I'd say that's the primary concern. But I could Terra it, obviously. Okay. I'm thinking Rev Room, Volk lead. In the back, Flutter. Tauros. I think Mouse is interesting for Encore, though. But I want to bring double special attackers here. So let's see. Curious if they just lean into Orthworm immediately. Okay, it's Gyarados Orthworm. This is really interesting because you won't be able to actually intimidate Rev Room. I think like it was what, T-Wave, Taunt, Waterfall, Bulldoze on Gyarados. So I could see this tearing immediately. Terra immediately. This could Shed Tail out. Fire Terra is pretty strong for them. I don't mind clicking Shift Gear here. Might just Shift Gear and Quiver Dance, honestly. Yep, so they're going to commit the Terra. I guess Gyarados could Bulldoze here as well, right? Okay. So we'll get, like, leave turn 1 with some pretty nice boosts, but the problem is they can just go into Dragonite now. And that's really scary. The upside is they can't Terra the Dragonite. T-Wave into Volk. Okay, that's fine. Shift Gear as well. They do Shed Tail. So, presumably, it is Dragonite coming out. They're going to start trying to Dragon Dance up with that. Which is fine. Breaking the sub is kind of a nuisance, though. They could go into Ting Lu as well. That'd actually be pretty interesting, but... if it's Ting Lu, what would I do? Probably Protect, Rev Room, Giga Drain, Ting Lu. Oh, they actually do bring out Ting Lu. Okay. So this is Choice Band Ting Lu. I have Tauros in the back as well, which is obviously handy against it. So I'm going to Protect and go for Giga Drain here. I mean, I guess I could Terra Volcarona, but I don't think that's worth it. Yeah, it's probably just Orthworm coming back out now. Yep. Okay, Riven protects. We don't get parried, which is nice. Let's kick a drain into Ting Lu. Does it break substitute? Nice. That's good. Okay, and they launch Earthquake. Is there any world in which Iron Head plus Giga Drain KOs this? I wouldn't think so, but... it's honestly tempting, huh? Like, I'm thinking... I could switch this out, but I don't know. Giga Drain would heal back a pretty considerable amount as well. So I'm down to Water Terra here. Iron Head, Ting Lu, and Giga Drain it. Because I'm faster with Volcarona. And Iron Head also gives me a flinch chance. I don't think we've really flinched with Iron Head throughout the course of this episode. But a single one is honestly game-changing. Like, my strategy in this game is basically attack around the Earthworm and then have like a 3v1 against it in this endgame. Oh, that really doesn't do too much. But another one will KO here. That's fine. Yeah, like, Volk is pretty healthy, all things considered. So they will get another Earthquake. Probably an Iron Defense now from the Earthworm. Yeah. Okay. Another Iron Head will certainly take care of the Ting Lu. Could Quiver Dance again. What would they have in the back? Flutter, Chien-Pao. I don't think Quiver Dancing again really does too much for me. Happy to just Heat Wave and chip away at Earthworm. Okay, Ting Lu's eliminated. +1 single target Heat Wave into Earthworm. It's honestly really good damage. Body Press does KO Rev Room though. Okay. The thing is, I can go into Flutter now, and I have Shadow Ball to just KO you. Alternatively, I could go into Tauros. But I'm not sure I KO the Orthworm. I'd rather launch Shadow Ball into it, I think. I wonder if I could have led better in this one. Also could have switched to Volk out, but I don't know. I wanted to see how much Iron Head and Giga Drain would do. But it wasn't really close either, honestly. So they bring out their Flutter Mane. Okay. So, I believe the opposing Flutter is Choice Specs. Honestly, if I were them, I would double up onto my Flutter right now. So I'm thinking about going for a Protect here. And a Heat Wave. Because I can use Life Orb Shadow Ball to, I think, get a one-hit KO onto either. Oh, they actually opted for Gleam. Okay, that also works. Huh, that's an interesting choice. I guess they wanted to cover for Tauros switching in, right? Get crit. But Heat Wave doesn't miss. Nice. Okay, and they Heavy Slam. Cool. The main gamble right now is I could go for the win by just Shadow Balling Flutter. Ah, that crit on Volk actually hurts so much, because without the crit, I could definitely take another Specs Gleam. Basically, I could go Shadow Ball here to KO Flutter. This is max speed Flutter, right? So I will just outspeed. I've got Tauros in the back. I mean... But I would lose the game immediately, I think, if I were to get full Parrot. So I think it's smarter to just go for the guaranteed knockout onto Orthworm right now. And then protect with Volcarona. Yeah. The crit made things a lot harder for me. Oh! Okay, that also works. The reason they're doing this is because it's choice on Flutter. So I think they realize, oh, I need to like reset what I'm locked into. But... the reason I'm okay with this is because I should just get the KO into Orthworm now. And then I can just Shadow Ball to get the one-hit knockout onto the Flutter as well. And this is the advantage of running max speed Life Orb Flutter, right? Knowing that you have that speed advantage against opposing Flutters. So we should be really well positioned now. It's a 3v1. This one was hard though, right? Like Orthworm caused a lot of issues, but I think then bringing Ting Lu instead of Dragonite made things easier. What I wanted to do was bait out their Terra early, and I got that, so I'm happy. And Volcarona hanging on after all these turns has also been super clutch. Flutter comes out. So now we take advantage of max speed Flutter, Shadow Ball into you. I think my main debate here is, do I switch out Volcarona? Because I could get an Intimidate, which is pretty valuable. Shadow Ball. Yeah, I'll make the switch here. I don't think Gyarados can win the 3v1. It's a really non-offensive Gyarados. Waterfall, Thunder Wave, Bulldoze, Taunt. It is Citrus Berry, so it'll take a while to KO, but I think me being able to stack Intimidates from Tauros is such a big deal. Unless my opponent changed the Flutter here and they're also max speed. But yeah, the original version of that team did not have max speed Flutter. It was like modest 124 speed EVs or something like that. But this is exactly why you want to run max speed, right? So that you don't have to stress as much in these positions. Yeah, I'm going to go for Waterfall. Beautiful. We survive thanks to Intimidate. So with that, I can go Protect here, switch Tauros into Volcarona. The next turn, substitute with Flutter, bring Tauros back out, and just keep cycling. And they end up forfeiting. Nice. Yeah, this one was interesting. I think, like, it was just me applying a good amount of pressure with these boosts in the beginning of the game. And, you know, their Terra... We traded Terras, but in a way that I think was more favorable for me. I think one of the key tools in beating Orthworm is, like, just don't let it continuously heal up. So, like, that single Heat Wave when it was single targeted, get it at 60% was really crucial. And I'd say the biggest turn was when I just protected my Flutter, right? And they ended up going for Dazzling Gleam plus Body Press. It could have been really scary because if they had actually just clicked Shadow Ball that turn onto the Volcarona slot, I think I would have been in a ton of trouble. But I wasn't sure they were willing to risk that, right? Because then I could have, of course, just have Shadow Balled their Flutter and then Heat Waved. But yeah, that one turn I think really allowed me to secure this game. And then their choice to lock into Gleam rather than Shadow Ball also made things easier. I think from my opponent's perspective, they were probably trying to outspeed us with Flutter, but I knew we were running Timid Max Speed Flutter. So I figured, you know, there's very little chance they're going to outpace us here in this end game. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Had a really lot of fun playing with this team, and I think Revroom's honestly not an easy Pokemon to use, but hopefully some of these games have demonstrated its potential in the format. I'm really sad I didn't go up against any of the Palafin Balance teams, because I feel like that's what the Revroom is really made for, but ultimately had a blast with all of these ones. So thanks as always for watching, thanks to Zach for the team, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.